You guys are easily the largest group of people I've ever spoken to, and since most of you are really interested in what I'm talking about, that makes it even worse. My name is Shona Rutan, or I go by SDR, which is just the phonetic spelling of my initials. I specialize in taking recipes that are kind of difficult and making them easy for the average person to understand. I grew up cooking a lot, so where I see, oh, this tomato pie is obviously we're going to need to roast the tomatoes first, and the average person just doesn't think like that. So I said I need to do something for AWA. I've been coming since AWA 3, and I normally help with karaoke, but you can only do karaoke so many times before you start going kind of deaf. So here I am, I'm cooking for you guys today. Let's see, Japanese snacks at home. Easier than you think, trickier than it sounds. We're going to start out by defining what a snack is. I got the lovely Merriam-Webster definition here. It's a small amount of food eaten between meals. Pretty much just something you can either grab and go, or something to tide you over. Red bean paste can be considered a snack. Mochi, sweet rice cakes. Onigiri. Okazu pan, which is filled bread. We commonly think of curry pan. Melon pan, crispy coated bread. Unfortunately, ramen in, I'm going to mangle this because I always mangle this. Okonomiyaki, they don't make the cut. Those are meals. And ramen especially, you think of instant ramen takes minutes. Real ramen, days. You are boiling bones to get your, yes ma'am.
Please speak up.
Speak up, you guys can't hear me in the back. Not sure how to turn myself up, so yeah, I guess I'll just try to project a little louder. But like I was saying, ramen and those lovely little pancakes you see on Ramen 1/2, they don't make the cut, those are meals. So we won't be talking about those today. Slide.
Oh, you can't see the slide because that.
Yeah, it's. Is that better?
Yes. Yes.
Yay! Now you're forced to hear me. Okay, moving right along. Obtaining your supplies. When I started to plan for this panel, I said most people aren't going to, well, maybe they do run down to the local Asian market. For the most part, you're going to go to Walmart, you're going to go to Piggly Wiggly, you're going to go to whatever your local grocery store is. So I wanted to know, do they carry what you can use to make these things? A lot of times, no. No, they do not. And don't be fooled, you'll see things you think you can use as a substitute. Not going to work. Not going to work at all. Especially if you've never made the recipe before or never eaten what it's supposed to turn out as. Don't try to experiment. Unless you're reading my blog and I've already done the experiments for you. Basics can be found at most grocery stores. You can find sushi rice. I found sushi rice pretty much everywhere. That's a stickier rice than your standard long grain white. You can use it for onigiri. You cannot use it for mochi. It's just not sticky enough, it's not sweet enough. Rice flour is found in grocery stores, but that's not the same as sweet rice flour at all. And you may actually notice in one of the recipes in the booklet, it calls for 2 types of flour, regular rice flour and sweet rice flour. You cannot interchange the two. There's specialty ingredients. It's imperative to find an Asian market. Now, I did find a lot of things like Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or places like that, but if your city has one of those, it's going to have an Asian market. So look for one. The smaller, most out-of-the-way places are the best, and half the time you'll get your ingredients cheaper there anyway. Specialty tools. There's a couple items that I will talk about that I have not actually made because they require special pans, and I wasn't going to invest in the pans for, this panel. I may do another panel next year with more advanced items, and in that case, then I'll talk about taiyaki and tokayaki and that sort of thing. But certain foods can only be made if you have the right tools on hand. For the most part, you can make whatever. Now, we'll get started talking about red bean paste. The neatest thing about red bean paste is you can use pretty much any kind of beans. The traditional beans are Azuki beans. You can see them there. They are smaller than the standard red beans you'll find on the shelf at the grocery store. They do keep their color better. Then they also have like that tiny little red line down the middle. They have thicker skins as well. They're not as likely to split on you while you're cooking them. Pretty much, your recipe for red bean paste is going to be beans, sugar, water. That's it. Equal parts beans and sugar. You can pull it off really easy. Water, looking at the recipe, you can tell it's a pretty prolonged process, and I will warn you now, when you make it, wear long sleeves. It likes to spit, and hot molten sugar does not feel good on your skin. I think I still have a scar on my wrist from where it spit at me in frustration that I was not done cooking it yet. The recipe says it will take over an hour. It's not lying. Of course, I found that as I made the recipe, the more water you add to it, it tells you to keep adding water. You're supposed to keep it at a level just above the beans. Every time you add water, it drops the temperature. Got to bring it back up to a boil. It takes longer to cook. Anko paste comes in varying degrees of smoothness. If you make it at home, it's going to be chunky unless you pass it through a sieve. It's not worth the extra effort passing it through a sieve. I will be posting on YouTube a time-lapse video of me doing about this much bean paste in 30 minutes. It's really, I'm fine with chunky. You can use other beans in place of the Azuki. You can use the small red beans you find at Walmart. It's not going to look as pretty. It's going to taste just the same. My 3-year-old niece can attest to that. I ate it too. I just couldn't eat that many beans in one sitting. You can actually, traditionally, there is a white bean paste, and it's made with lima beans. So if you see a bean that's a similar texture, on the shelf, I wouldn't recommend black-eyed peas. They are just too gritty. But navy beans, kidney beans, all those other kinds of beans, they'll make a pretty decent anko. Now, what would you even use bean paste in? If you don't want to sit down with a spoon and enjoy it like peanut butter, but not everyone eats peanut butter straight out of the jar. I do that. You can use it on dorayaki, or little pancakes that you make a sandwich with the red bean paste. You can make it with mochi, which is a pounded rice cake. We will talk about that shortly. Ice cream. How many of you have gone to a Japanese restaurant and you get the choice between green tea or red bean? Yeah, that's what I thought. Green tea is nasty. It's too bitter. I'm sorry. I like my ice cream to be sweet. All right, so that's pretty much it on the red bean. Let's see, I think I had another picture for red beans. Oh yeah, the finished product. Isn't that pretty? Don't you just want to dig into that with a spoon? Oh, that's delicious. If you do it with the red beans from Walmart, it's going to be a more rose colored than this. It's very purple. Dorayaki. You got your pancakes. This is a stock photo. I misplaced my photography card and was not able to get my own pictures. Bad me. We're about to talk about rice. I don't know how well you can see that, but let's talk about rice now. Rice snacks. Rice is the cornerstone of the Japanese cuisine. Yes? Oh, you didn't get a book?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have recipe books. I have plenty of them, so if you don't have one on hand, you can come grab one. I'm probably just going to throw them out on the tables once I leave. All the recipes that are in the book are sourced on the back. You will notice 4 of them come from the same website. It is an awesome website. It's very well written. There are lots and lots of pictures. The other 2 recipes, that final recipe for melon pan, when I get to it, I will explain why it's such a terrible, terrible recipe, but it produces an awesome tasting product, so I'm going to definitely go on my blog and fix it.
Email you a recipe for melon pan that I haven't. I loved it. My mom loved it. Everybody.
Well, it tastes great. It's just the technical aspect. Like, if you've never baked before, you're not going to pull off something using that recipe.
Culinary.
Yeah, in my house too.
Because I don't need it.
This prop is an actual cooking whiz. Got it at a chef's store. This is part of my, if anyone doesn't recognize me, because I know it's an awful, awful cosplay, Cooking Mama. So
I think it's cute.
the whisk was a nice touch. I also have giant chopsticks, but those are for one of you lucky people at the end of the meal. All right, so rice snacks, moving on. Not all rice is created equal. As we see in this picture here, the rice on the far left, that's your standard long grain white rice. That is what everyone probably grew up eating, unless you were lucky enough to have a culturally diverse food palette in your lifestyle. The center one is sushi rice. It's slightly shorter, slightly fatter. And I probably should have put it on some other background than the blue plate, but it looked better when I was taking the picture. The final one on the end, that is glutinous sweet rice. And as you can see, it is short, it is fat, it is practically round. The shorter your rice grain, the stickier it will be. You can eat the sweet sticky rice, you can eat that, but you can't use a sushi rice in place of the sweet sticky if that's what the recipe is calling for. Sushi rice is great for when you're making onigiri, rice balls, obviously sushi, that sort of thing. The long grain white rice, you try and get it sticky enough, it's going to be wet and mushy and not good at all. So, yeah, as you can see, they're not all created equal. Let's see. You can use both them. You can use them whole and as a flour. If your recipe calls for flour, if you want to be kind of industrious and make your own flour, yes, that is actually my food processor. I got bored halfway through the process and just kind of cooked the sticky mess, and it did not turn out well. If you're going to make your own flour, commit to it. Don't do it just because, oh, this sounds fun. An hour later, you're really tired of hitting that button repeatedly to pulse your processor. Yeah, just buy it. Supposedly you get a superior product, especially with mochi, by you hand pounding with a mortar and pestle. And if you've never seen it done in person, you're probably not going to notice a texture difference yourself. So go ahead and use the flour. I give you permission to take that shortcut. I have lots of shortcuts in hand. Just a few snacks with rice, obviously onigiri. The funny thing about onigiri, traditionally, in the way back ages, it was round. We're used to seeing the triangular. But it was originally round. It started becoming triangular when they were able to use machinery to process it, because you can fit more shapes into a triangle, and more triangle shapes into a space than you can round shapes. So when the Industrial Revolution started hitting everywhere, that's when the triangle was born. This is kind of showing you how to fill an onigiri. You can do it with the pretty triangle shape. Again, this is not my photograph. I will source them on my blog later. The blog information should be on the back of the booklet as well. But yeah, it's not as difficult as it looks. And really, if you're gonna eat it, it doesn't have to look beautiful. These are onigiri that are mixed as opposed to filled, and that's what I learned eating. You just throw the mix in there, stir it up, kind of a couple different wrappers. I liked the way that looked. You don't actually have to wrap them. That just keeps your fingers from getting really sticky from the rice. Mochi, we talked about mochi. Sushi, if you're making sushi at home, you can get safe sushi grade tuna. I don't trust it. I'm sorry. I will get my real sushi made by a professional. I make the fake Californian stuff. Or tamago. I love tamago sushi. Dango, which is basically small mochi balls on a stick. That's mochi. Isn't that pretty? Mm-hmm. I did get green tea powder to make mochi with, and again, I don't have photos. This is dango. That has a sweet soy sauce glaze on it. I believe I have the recipe in the booklets. It's one of the few things I did not get a chance to try before the convention. I was working massive overtime at my real world job, the one that pays all the bills. So I guess, I can't blame them for wanting to work me. But yeah, that's rice items. If you have questions, I will have a question and answer period at the end, hopefully. Bread snacks. Another interesting thing about Japanese culture, you see a lot of bread nowadays. Up until the last couple hundred years, bread was not really a thing in Japan. It really became popular once the World War II was over and the U.S. went in there and basically took over their entire culture and started feeding them what we felt like feeding them. So bread, if you want to use an American recipe, you're probably closer to what they're making over there anyway. So you don't have to feel like you need to track down a traditional Japanese bread recipe just to make bread. It is a recent addition. It's rapidly spreading across the country because rice, you can't just grab onigiri, you can grab a ball of rice in the morning. But for the most part, grabbing a roll, grabbing a curry pan or something like that is much easier than sitting down with your bowl of rice and cracking your egg in it and stirring it. And people in Japan they technically slam their day full of activities. They're not as laid back as we are. And they want to get the most out of their time. Okazu pan is the technical term for any filled roll. The most familiar one we know is the curry pan or curry pan. If you are making a filled roll, make sure whatever you're filling it with is not too wet because it will leak all over the inside of your oven. If you're using like leftover stew, curry, that sort of thing, just kind of cook it down a little bit before you stuff it into your bread. Nifty shortcut. Go down to your supermarket refrigerated case, grab some Pillsbury rolls. I swear to God, they turn out just the same. Roll them out, stuff them with whatever, close it up, seal it real good. I usually bake my pan. They do come fried a lot. I don't like frying. There's too many hot spattery accidents. I'm pretty accident prone. So, But yeah, that is curry pan right there. Oh, isn't that attractive? Yeah, that's just something I want to dive right into. And then, of course, melon pan, which is kind of the sneakiest thing because you look at it and you don't realize that it's got a thin cookie crust on the outside. It's bread on the inside, but then it's cookie on the outside. You bite into it and you're trying to figure out how did they pull this off. It's a pain in the butt. It is delicious though. Okay, this is melon pan. It is called melon pan because when you first made it, they didn't always score the top like that. And when you bake it, the cookie does kind of crack and it looks like a rock melon. This is a beautiful, beautiful example. This is what I made using that recipe. It was delicious though, so I'm definitely going to go and tweak certain steps. Let me grab the booklet myself, see if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, they tell you let your dough rise for 2 hours and then take it out and let it rise again and then let it rise again. And then they tell you to make your cookie dough and chill it for an hour while you've already had your dough ready to be put in the oven. So, they kind of should have put step 8 somewhere around step 2.
Before you let the first one rise.
Yeah, while you were letting the first one rise. It also tells you to handle it a lot, that cookie dough. You chill it, and then you roll the cookie balls out, and you make them into even little steps. It doesn't even tell you how many rolls you're making. It's like, however many rolls you made to divide your cookie dough. No, recipes, don't do that. People need to be told what to do. So I wound up with a cookie dough that was very warm by the time I got done handling it. And while delicious, it didn't turn out too good. Like I said, it's a hot mess. No one in my house cared. Delicious hot mess. I left it out on the kitchen counter, and the following day they were like 2. Yeah, I said, crap. It's a good thing I was not planning on bringing them to the panel. Let's see, is that it? No, specialized snacks. I got more to talk about. And yeah, that was kind of loud shouty. I need to. Holy crap! Have I only been talking for 20 minutes? Wow. I hope you guys have lots of questions. I'll just take my time raffling is what we'll do. Specialized snacks. Again, these are things that I have not actually made myself because they do require special pans, and my budget was a little tight and I couldn't rationalize as much as I would have liked to go and order pans just to make takoyaki or taiyaki. You can order them online, you can order them on Amazon, you can go to an Asian market. If it's a good one, they'll have some on hand. Taiyaki are fish-shaped cakes. That's why they're called tai. Tai is a Japanese sea bream. Commonly filled with anko or red bean paste, but you can find them filled with just about anything else. Here you can see them at a bakery. Again, not my picture. Japan. But yeah, you can see them at a bakery preparing them. In order to get that signature fish shape, you do need the signature fish pan. Oh, that's takoyaki. Takoyaki, it's a ball-shaped cake commonly filled with octopus. Do not fear the octopus is tasty. Just watch out for the suckers, they do kind of like to cling. Takoyaki, you can see that is a specific pan just for takoyaki. I imagine you probably could do other things in it. You can put other things in a takoyaki filling. You could put imitation crab, you can make them sweet with plum or whatever. The trick to it is, you see that stick they've got? You kind of start flipping the ball, and as you flip the ball, the batter goes down into the tray, and it just kind of makes a perfect sphere. It takes practice, it takes the pan, it takes more active whatever for a snack than I am willing to pull off right now. So I can make some bean paste and throw it on a Pillsbury roll, and I'm happy. Or pancakes. Pancakes are easy. Let's see, is that the end of my, I think that's, yep, that was the end of my pictures, I'm sorry. And I think that's the end of my specifics. Does anyone have any questions about stuff? Because I've got a lot of time now. We'll start at the front here. Yes, anko can easily be frozen. I do recommend dividing it into portions and wrapping it in plastic wrap before you freeze it, because otherwise you'll wind up with a large brick of basically refried beans. And that doesn't ship off very well.
Could you make an anko sandwich that kind of work?
That would be interesting. You could probably do something like that, like an octopus grilled cheese. That's sounding surprisingly tasty. Or maybe I'm just hungry because I haven't eaten breakfast this morning. Yeah, you'll eat the most surprising things when you're hungry. I saw this hand first, and then we'll come this way.
Have you yourself tried making, instead of red bean or any kind of bean filling, using custard?
Custard, not for any of these Japanese snacks, but I have done custard-filled items in the past. I've done custard-filled cream puffs. As long as you make sure your custard is thick enough, because you don't want it oozing out. Custard can run between, a nice, good, thick custard versus a kind of slightly runny, thinner custard. Okay, I'm going to apologize really quick. I'm deaf in one ear, like legally, and I have hearing difficulties in the other, so when lots of noises happen at once, I have difficulty picking up on what's going on. So over here, these hands.
Yes, I wanted to know, when do they eat the snacks? Is it like breakfast, or they eat?
Snacks are typically more of an afternoon type thing, the long stretch between their lunch hour and their dinner hour. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the traditional Japanese workday. It's a lot longer than the American workday. It's probably, I know their school days at least go from before dawn till well into the afternoon and evening hours. So most of the snacks are typically eaten in that stretch between lunch and dinner. Bear suit.
If you live out in the boondocks, do you know about like a website or anything that you can order on?
Yeah, there are several of them. I can't remember their names other than Amazon off the top of my head, but I will be linking them on my blog. So, and like if you go to Just One Cookbook, she links a lot of really good places to get your recipes or your ingredients from. All right, yeah, you had gone up there. I don't have any meal recipes on the website, but one of the items I'll be raffling is this Japanese meal cookbook. It is an awesome, awesome cookbook. I haven't finished reading it, but I felt so bad that so many people were wanting to come to this panel and I didn't have extra stuff to give out. So I just started picking things out of my personal collection and going, hey, let's raffle this. So I'll have to get a hold of another copy of that later. But yeah, this is an awesome. It goes so in depth into all of the different ingredients that you can find in the Japanese, standard Japanese pantry. Yeah, this is like standard Japanese home cooking. This isn't even the fancy stuff you get at a sushi restaurant. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with taro? And what do you call that? Have you ever made anything with taro?
I am familiar with it as an ingredient. I have not actually made anything with it. As I understand, it's definitely one of those items that you want to use that item as opposed to attempting a substitute because you just can't get the same texture cooking with something else. You may find some websites that tell you, oh yeah, just swap for whatever. If you don't mind the texture being different, I'm very big on textures myself. For example, the mochi, I didn't think to mention this, but mochi, they describe the texture of mochi as pinching an earlobe. So just reach up, pinch your earlobe. That's the kind of texture you want when you make mochi. That is way different from most of the things we eat on a daily basis. So it's definitely, my 3-year-old niece who loved the bean paste did not like the mochi at all. Yes. Yes, you. No, I can't say I've heard of that one. Yeah, that's probably why I'm not familiar with it. I don't fry a lot of things because, burn, tragic, it hurts. I can definitely look into it, though, and, give some information at a later date. But right now, I think my poor laptop is mad at me. Another question. Okay, I think the one in the back was first, and then we'll come up to you.
What's an example of an experimental?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that a little louder?
Sorry. What's an example of an experimental Japanese method?
Oh God! The first time I tried to make pounded mochi, that was definitely an experiment gone drastically awry. Like I said, I started out trying to make the flour in the food processor, and I'm one of those people. I come home from work, I get off at midnight, and I decide I'm going to cook, and then 2 hours later I'm ready to go to bed. So if it's not coming off rather quickly, I start getting kind of frustrated. And my original specialty was candy making and caramels you cannot rush, and it's just. So I got about halfway through, and it was sort of powdery and still sort of chunky. So then I said, "Oh, I'm sure it'll turn out fine if I cook it." And I put it in the pan, and it got all crunchy on the bottom, and it still wasn't cooked through the middle. And I didn't even bother trying to mash it at that point. It was like, no one's gonna. I'm not. My cats are looking at me funny now. I'm ready to go to bed. This is not working out. I have made some disastrous things in the past. Not Japanese cooking, but I made Turkish delight. The very first time I made that, I literally threw the pan across the stove because it scared me so badly. You're cooking with cornstarch on that, and cornstarch, it starts out looking, it's nice and liquidy. It's like milk, and you're stirring, and you're cooking, and you're stirring, and gelatinous oozes up out of the pan. You're, oh God, what? Possession, So yeah, I don't recommend that as a first-time candy recipe, and especially if you get one asking for rose water. Who here has eaten rose-flavored candy? Did it remind you of soap? Yeah, everyone in my household that I gave it to immediately spit it out and asked why I was playing a prank on them. It's like, no, it's good, I swear. So now when I make it, I use about half the recommended amount of rose water it calls for, and I don't give it to my family members. All right, so yes, you.
What's your favorite flavor of mochi?
My favorite flavor of mochi would be peanut butter, actually. You can put peanut butter into your mochi, and it is quite tasty. I bought a set that was multiple different flavors. It was peanut butter, it was red bean, and it was sesame paste. And let's just say that either I got a bad one, or sesame paste just naturally looks like something you would, excuse the terminology, find on the inside of a diaper. It was not attractive at all. The moment I bit into it, all my family members cringed away, and no one would try it. And despite as many times as they said, "Oh, it's delicious. Come on now, yeah, help yourself." Yeah, they just wouldn't do it. So peanut butter is awesome though. I eat peanut butter on about everything. Yes, ma'am.
What would you recommend, like the first Japanese snack to make for a beginner, like if you're first starting out?
If you are just starting out, go ahead and do the bean paste, because while it takes a long amount of time, it's actually pretty forgiving. So, it's basically boiling beans. If you can boil water, and if you have the patience to stay in there stirring for, a couple hours at a time, bean paste is easy. It's sugar, water, beans, stirring. Just, like I said, remember to wear long sleeves, maybe a face mask, Instead, I'm short, so I have short arms. I can't stand that far away from the pot. Yes, sir.
Have you ever made yokon, and what's the difference between yokon and anka?
I've never made yokon. Now, is yokon the white bean paste?
It's red bean jelly.
Red bean jelly. Okay, the difference between that would be there is more of a gelatinous substance in it. You could throw some unflavored gelatin to make a jelly. You probably would need to sieve it sometime in the process. There are some anka recipes out there that call for making a slurry where you run the beans through a food processor before you add the sugar. And that's probably the red bean jelly would require that sort of stuff because you definitely want it to be not chunky. Otherwise, you have more of a jam than a jelly. I've made strawberry jam, which is very similar. If you want it clear and smooth, then you sieve it. Yes, sir.
Just talking about that jelly, if you were to bake mashed up rice and try to make a pocky out of it, which rice would you use and which jelly jam would you use for pocky?
To make a pocky?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's see. Which rice would I use to make pocky? I'd probably go ahead and use the sweet rice, the shortest, easiest one, because that will make more of a paste. I don't know if I'd actually recommend using rice for pocky. I'm presuming you mean for the stick portion?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd recommend going ahead and using flour. I know a lot of the pocky sticks are made with a flour item, and I almost make pocky because it's a cookie stick and then you dip it in stuff. That's pretty simplistic. So I would recommend if you're going to use you go ahead and use the sweet rice flour. It might not bake up the way you're thinking of just because it's not wheat flour. And then as far as the topping goes, and if you can make it into a smooth enough paste, the jelly probably would be better in that case because you want something you can dip. Yes, ma'am.
I've got a friend who has celiac disease. Is there a way to make gluten-free pocky?
That's where you would try experimenting with the rice. And actually, if you people want, I can try experimenting making rice crackers with rice flour and pulling off a gluten-free pocky, which, come to think of it, would be an amazing thing to pull off because there is a lot of diagnosis of celiacs nowadays. So I'll start experimenting with that, and then I'll keep you guys updated. If you also want, when the panel ends, I've got cards with all of my Tumblr and Facebook and Twitter and everything else are on the cards. I'm going to, oh my God, where'd my tickets go? Oh, they're in the bag, okay. It's like, oh, tickets for, I'm going to pull a raffle ticket real quick. Those of you who were here for the free stuff are like, yes, finally I can leave. Okay, so the first item I'm going to raffle are these giant cooking chopsticks. Yes. Oh yeah, you can get a ticket. Do we have an extra ticket? The green. Yeah, anyone who does not have a raffle ticket yet, please be honest.
Are you going to give a walk for the people who can check?
I'm jealous because I saw these in the store and I grabbed them and I said I should probably raffle these instead of taking them home. There's a string on the end to keep them from getting lost.
Okay, who still needs it?
The chopsticks I just found in Asia Market. You go back into the cooking section, and this particular pair is hanging up, and I took most of the sticker out. They weren't that expensive. I'm reluctant to tell you guys how much they cost, because then you'll think I'm cheap. But hey, the book is pricey. Whoever gets the book is going home with a good item, and I may stalk you. All right, so does everyone have a ticket? I want to pull an item. I really badly want to pull an item. Well, we still have 25 minutes to go. Oh, by the way, after my panel is Sweet Sweet History, which is all about Japanese candy. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, go ahead and stay. I know I'm going to see if they'll let me kind of poke my stuff in the corner and hang out to watch their panel.
Anybody else need a ticket? Anybody else need a ticket?
Okay, one more question, then I'm going to start drawing. Questions?
Like, is the sweets thing, are they gonna do that like for sweets and stuff, like Japanese food?
I have no idea. I've never been to their panel before. I know it's Sweet Sweet History 2.0, so I don't know if it's a continuation or an elaboration or a repeat of what they did last year. They were here last year. They are talking about candy. However, there are rules against us actually giving out food, which is why I don't have stuff to give you that you can put in your mouth. Well, I mean, you can put the chopsticks in your mouth. Those are food snacks. I gave you arsenic-laced spoons. Okay, so first ticket for the chopsticks, the giant pair of chopsticks that you could use as a novelty item or you can cook with, is 923 691. Oh, I love that sound. Come on up and get your chopsticks.
So that's the real reason I want to hear all the disappointment.
Whoa.
Inhale and then
One person's happy, but I get to feel this.
All right, do we have more questions? Yes, sir.
So the mochi recipe you have in here, it seems like it's just for not unflavored mochi.
Correct.
What would you do to add?
Like if you wanted to add flavor to it, for example, the matcha powder. If you're going to use green tea flavoring, definitely get matcha powder. It's kind of expensive, but it'll give you the best green tea flavor. Probably about, depending on the volume of mochi you're making. I'm bad about this too. I'll do things to eyesight. Like I'll add, it may be a teaspoon, it may be a tablespoon, which are two different measurements. Vastly different measurements, but like a light green. Probably for the recipe that you're looking at there, I would put a teaspoon and then taste a little bit to see if it's green tea. You know?
And when would you put that in?
I would put it in, actually you would put it in while you're mixing the flour because you wouldn't want to put it in while it's wet. So kind of put it in there, take just a pinch of flour. You may like green tea more than I do because like I said earlier, I prefer red bean ice cream. Green tea is just too bitter. But yeah, put it in during the powder, like the flour stage before you start adding your wet ingredients.
And like you said that there's red bean mochi. What would...
Red bean mochi that's actually referring to the filling.
Oh, it's...
So yeah, you would take your mochi and you put a blob of it in your hand and you put a blob of whatever filling you want into it and then you like mold it around until there's no more seams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And mochi's sticky enough that there...
Yeah, oh yeah, mochi will stick to everything.
I know.
Yeah. So potato starch is really helpful keeping your mochi from sticking to, things. Yes?
First off, I do the same thing. I do it by eye. So when people tell me that they want to do my recipes or whatever, I put it on a scale and then just do it by eye. And I can give them the measurements and when people ask, you do it like that. Second, there's the Onco, which fills in the buns and stuff. Do you know how to make like the sweet tea filling? Because that's my favorite.
I imagine it would be pretty similar. Pretty much you would just cook it down until it becomes a paste. You could use any kind of filling. I said I like peanut butter. Peanut butter, while a little wetter than the average filling. Excuse me. Yeah, just cook it down till it's a paste. You don't want anything too liquidy because if you get, well, especially when you bite into it, if it's too liquidy, it's going to shoot all over your face. And, you get that lovely mustache. So, but talking about recipes that, you get used to doing them by eye, the melon pan recipe reminded me of an old German recipe. And a lot of times when someone writes a recipe, they don't think about who their audience is going to be. And unless you've got a blog and then you're trying to aim it towards whoever used your blog. The way I selected my recipes is I went online, I punched the name into Google, I looked at the first 3 or 4 recipes on it, and like the melon pan recipe, which traumatized me so badly, it was labeled easy melon pan. So I thought the average person is going to see the word easy and go for it. And the ingredients, they don't look too fancy. It looks like it should be easy. And then I started making it. So you do kind of have to watch out, especially if you're not that big of a cook. But feel free to experiment. The worst thing that happens is you burn it or it's inedible, and then you learn and you move on. And you very seldom are you actually going to poison somebody. It's like you have to try. You cannot get accidental manslaughter for poisoning somebody with your food. It's an intentional, legitimate. Let's see. I have a tea infuser. It's got cherry blossoms on it. It's pretty. I bought it when I was ordering things for completely unrelated alcohol adult beverages. Which are one of my other specialties. Yeah, you can actually throw tea leaves into alcohol and it will make a tea infusion. So don't buy that Firefly sweet black tea crap. Just make your own. But anyway, so I'm raffling this off. Everyone, get your tickets ready. Da, 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 da. I need a theme song for this. I'm amused now because I'm realizing the first 3 numbers are going to be the same for everybody. 923 613. Yay! You get a tea infuser. This I bought from Tea Forte, which is a very nice tea website. Yeah. I'm trusting you people, so, if I notice you gave me the wrong ticket, I'm going to be very disappointed. I may have to beat you with my whisk. All right, so do we have more questions? I still have 15 minutes, and I don't see the people from Sweet Sweet History trying to sneak in on me. Yes, sir?
Are there any snacks that are traditionally related to holidays?
There are, and now that you've asked that question, I am drawing a blank. The only thing I can think of are mooncakes, but that's Chinese. That's not Japanese. So, there's a lot of Japanese holidays, a lot of children's days. So I apologize. Like I said, I'm just completely drawing a blank now.
Well, during New Year's, mochi
Yes.
is cooked a lot.
Yeah, it is. Mochi is enjoyed quite a bit. Yes, sir.
Do you have any tips for getting pre-made takoyaki to cook all the way through before it burns?
Turn it a lot. I mean, I like I said earlier, I've not made it because I don't have the pan yet. I may invest in it in the future just because I'm really intrigued by it now. But from what I hear, it's turning it a lot and turning it very quickly.
Well, the thing is that they come like in hemispheres instead of in entire balls, and they're like frozen. They're frozen.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, okay, you
And
did say
but they
pre-made, I'm sorry.
To be still juicy in the center by the time they burn. I was just wondering if you had experience with that.
Yeah, I've never made the pre-made items. Let me see if I can call upon just my general culinary ideas.
Thawing them under water.
Yeah, thawing them would probably be good. Cooking at a lower temperature for a longer period of time should help because that'll allow the temperature to penetrate to the center more evenly. Generally, cooking at a higher temperature will sear the outside and not allowed to get cold. High temperatures are great for if you want really rare meat. High temperatures are not great for baking generally. But yeah, maybe lower the temperature, try that, definitely thaw it out. Check your oven, because sometimes ovens just work funny. For the first 3 years we were in my house, we could not figure out, to save our lives, why everything we cooked burnt on one side. And by one side, I mean on the right side as opposed to the left side, not on the top versus the bottom. And it was one of our one of the voltages on one of our coils was low, so it wasn't heating properly. So yeah, definitely check that. If you can borrow a friend's oven to try the recipe, because sometimes those recipes are tested really well by the people who make the packaging, and sometimes they aren't. I've found just quick non-Japanese food related, those little mini pizzas that the frozen ones you get that tell you preheat your oven at 450 and then bake for what. If you throw it in your cold oven and wait till the preheat thing goes off, it's done. And then you don't have to wait for anything to preheat. And I think it takes longer that way. But then again, if you were waiting for it to preheat, just look at that. Let's see. I think I got more items here. I got a ramen set. Ooh, fancy. Hey now. Okay, it is a bowl. You can see the lovely illustration. The reason I'm explaining this is because you can't really tell looking at it from the front. It is a bowl with a set of chopsticks. It says ramen on it. It is pretty green because I do enjoy the color green. It also comes with a spoon. You can't really see the spoon from the inside, but you can tuck the spoon into the handle on the side. And it's a very nice set. I have one of these at home. It was given to me for my birthday. But I will not call it a ramen noodle bowl, because then I'm just saying noodle. And yeah, I can't do that with a straight face. Noodle. All right, so my hand's in the bag. It's picking a ticket. 923 5. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. 8. And now we're down to like 7 people. 9.
Yes!
5, 8, 9. Yes! See,
that's the thing I wanted.
See,
That's the thing we all want.
that's the best part of drawing it. You can actually get that with your ticket, sir.
Yeah.
Your ticket, sir?
Your ticket, sir?
Yes. You got so excited, that's okay. I was about to. No, I need a string attached to this before I can throw it like a spear. Spear. Okay. Do we have more questions? I still have about 10 minutes, and I only have one item left. Yes?
Have you ever tried to make that burger?
No, I haven't, but... Dang it, you people keep asking me these questions, and I'm like, I don't have time to make everything when I get home, but I want to. So, yeah, I have not actually made that myself. Pretty much the extent of my Japanese cooking was what I made for this panel. The last panel I did had about 25 people show up for. It was a brief history of candy at AnacroCon, which is a steampunk convention. It's much smaller than AWA. And while I was able to actually give out the stuff I made simple caramels. I say simple because I also make a salted whiskey caramel. Oh yeah, everyone's like, I made marshmallows from scratch, and I made hard cinnamon candies. I did also make Turkish delight, but I told everyone at the panel, don't make that, because it is that is so easy to screw up, and then you wind up with like a waxy soap flavored thing, and you try and wash with it. No, bad. Anyway. So, yeah, I wind up with all this long list of things that I want to go home and make and try, and either I don't have time to do it all or I start forgetting things. So, yes, definitely, when you guys get a chance, send me messages to remind me of things that I've promised in here that I'm going to do. I had a very interesting question at the panel in an Acrocon about making sugar-free candies. And I went home and I looked it up, and what I basically boiled down to is by the time you get done trying to make sugar-free candies, you've used so many chemicals, you're just better off eating fruit. I'm very much about making things, natural. When I do cooking, I cook with butter. I'd rather use less butter and avoid all those chemical byproducts. And
Margarine's closer to plastic.
yes, margarine is very close to plastic. But let's see. The surprise item. I will do this last item, and then those of you who are only here for the free stuff can feel free to vacate. Not at all. I didn't think to pour myself a glass of water, and now I'm thirsty, and I'm. Yes. Okay. 923. And this sounds like flight number 737. This is for the cookbook. Yay! I love your costume.
Thank you.
Let me check mine.
It's only 10 minutes.
Yeah, this was as far as I had gone.
It's terrible.
All right, so yeah, like I thought, everyone's. Yay. Yeah, those are the ones I've been looking at. Like, I would have used
Cast iron one. You have to season it really well first.
Yeah, we use cast iron.
But it's on the other exactly my head. It's not as difficult.
Yeah, I imagine it's more about technique. Just mastering that. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I was halfway through the thing. I was like, oh,
Now it's all late.
Yeah, that is one of those but I can try looking online and see what I can you probably find a mix and then have a picture. The old version, not like the
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely find those. I'm not sure. I just
We actually have a small town in the west. We actually have a decent
Yeah, I found that as long as you're going to go into really hot areas, you can find some.
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, definitely. Oh, the book is on Amazon. I will put the links on that.
I just thought
I'll put it on the book. I know it's on the ones that I should.
give it to you anyway.
Hey, back there. Well, I'm trying to get cleaned up so that the next band.
Bright yellow inside.
I want to know how to make chicken.
Like, we're both and then my husband
It's fine, Sean. How was dinner?
Scott.
Just calling me to find out what we're doing.
So they're cosplaying together, and then we're cosplaying.
It's very salty. It's fermented.
Spirit is right. Yesterday, she was Shakira, and I was talking
Well,
about.
yeah.
We had to come in and see you. Do you have carry anything back here?
Yeah, I'll need help with the spots.
Oh, we're actually going to do it again tomorrow.
I'm sorry, I'm still
So you cannot get accidental manslaughter for poisoning somebody with your food. You know, it's intentional, legitimate. Let's see. I have a tea infusion. It's got cherry blossoms on it. It's pretty. I bought it when I was ordering things for completely unrelated alcohol adult beverages, which are one of my other specialties. Yeah, you can actually like throw tea leaves into alcohol and it will make a tea infusion. So don't buy that Firefly sweet black tea crap. Just make your own. But anyway, so I'm raffling this off. Everyone, get your tickets ready. Da, 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 da. I need a theme song for this. I'm amused now because I'm realizing the first three numbers are going to be the same for everybody. 923 613. Yay! You get a tea infusion. This I bought from Tea Forte, which is a very nice tea website. Yeah. I'm trusting you people, so, you know, if I notice you gave me the wrong ticket, I'm going to be very disappointed. I may have to beat you with my whisk. All right, so do we have more questions? I still have 15 minutes, and I don't see the people from Sweet Sweet History trying to sneak in on me. Yes, sir.
Are there any snacks that are traditionally related to holidays?
There are, and now that you've asked that question, I am drawing a blank. The only thing I can think of are mooncakes, but that's Chinese. That's not Japanese. So, yeah, there's a lot of Japanese holidays, a lot of children's days. So I apologize. Like I said, I'm just completely drawing a blank now.
Well, during New Year's, mochi
Yes.
is cooked a lot.
Yeah, it is. Mochi is enjoyed quite a bit. Yes, sir.
Do you have any tips for getting pre-made takoyaki to cook all the way through before it burns?
Turn it a lot. I mean, I like I said earlier, I've not made it because I don't have the pan yet. I may invest in it in the future just because I'm really intrigued by it now. But from what I hear, it's turning it a lot and turning it very quickly.
Well, the thing is that they come like in hemispheres instead of in entire balls, and they're like frozen. They're frozen.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah, okay, you
And
did say
they
pre-made, I'm sorry.
To be still juicy in the center by the time they burn. I was wondering if you had experience with that.
Yeah, I've never made the pre-made items. Let me see if I can call upon just my general culinary ideas.
Thawing them under
Yeah, thawing them would probably be good. Cooking at a lower temperature for a longer period of time should help because that'll allow the temperature to penetrate to the center more evenly. Generally, cooking at a higher temperature will sear the outside and not allow it to get cold. High temperatures are great for if you want really rare meat. High temperatures are not great for baking generally. But yeah, maybe lower the temperature. Try that. Definitely thaw it out. Check your oven because sometimes ovens just work funny. For the first 3 years we were in my house, we could not figure out to save our lives why everything we cooked burnt on one side. And by one side, I mean on the right side as opposed to the left side, not on the top versus the bottom. And it was one of our one of the voltages on one of our coils was low, so it wasn't heating properly. So yeah, definitely check that. You know, if you can borrow a friend's oven to try the recipe, because sometimes those recipes are tested really well by the people who make the packaging, and sometimes they aren't. I've found just, you know, quick non-Japanese food related, those little mini pizzas that the frozen ones you get that tell you preheat your oven at 450 and then bake for what. If you throw it in your cold oven and wait till the preheat thing goes off, it's done. And then you don't have to wait for anything to preheat. And I think it takes longer that way. But then again, if you were waiting for it to preheat, you know, just look at that. Let's see. I think I got more items here. I got a ramen set. Ooh, fancy. Hey now. Okay, it is a bowl. You can see the lovely illustration. The reason I'm explaining this is because you can't really tell looking at it from the front. It is a bowl with a set of chopsticks. It says ramen on it. It is pretty green because I do enjoy the color green. It also comes with a spoon. You can't really see the spoon from the inside, but you can tuck the spoon into the handle on the side. And it's a very nice set. I have one of these at home. It was given to me for my birthday. But I will not call it a ramen noodle bowl, because then I'm just saying noodle. And yeah, I can't do that with a straight face. Noodle. All right, so my hand's in the bag. It's picking a ticket. 923 5. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. 8. And now we're down to like 7 people. 9. Yes! 5, 8, 9. Yes! See,
that's the thing I wanted.
See,
That's the thing we all want.
that's the best part of drawing it. You can actually get that with your ticket, sir.
Yeah.
Your ticket, sir?
Your ticket, sir?
Yes. You got so excited, that's okay. I was about to. No, I need a string attached to this before I can throw it like a spear. Spear. Okay. Do we have more questions? I still have about 10 minutes, and I only have one item left. Yes?
Have you ever tried to make that burger?
No, I haven't, but... Dang it, you people keep asking me these questions, and I'm like, I don't have time to make everything when I get home, but I want to. So, yeah, I have not actually made that myself. Pretty much the extent of my Japanese cooking was what I made for this panel. The last panel I did had about 25 people show up for. It was a brief history of candy at Anachrocon, which is a steampunk convention. It's much smaller than AWA. And while I was able to actually give out the stuff I made simple caramels. I say simple because I also make a salted whiskey caramel. Oh yeah, everyone's like, I made marshmallows from scratch, and I made hard cinnamon candies. I did also make Turkish delight, but I told everyone at the panel, don't make that, because it is that is so easy to screw up, and then you wind up with like a waxy soap flavored thing, and you try and wash with it. No, bad. Anyway, so yeah, I wind up with all this long list of things that I want to go home and make and try, and either I don't have time to do it all or I start forgetting things. So yes, definitely when you guys get a chance, send me messages to remind me of things that I've promised in here that I'm going to do. I had a very interesting question at the panel in Anachrocon about making sugar-free candies. And I went home and I looked it up, and what I basically boiled down to is by the time you get done trying to make sugar-free candies, you've used so many chemicals, you're just better off eating fruit. I'm very much about making things, natural. When I do cooking, I cook with butter. I'd rather use less butter and avoid all those chemical byproducts. And
margarine's closer to plastic.
Yes, margarine is very close to plastic. But let's see. The surprise item. I will do this last item, and then those of you who are only here for the free stuff can feel free to vacate. I didn't think to pour myself a glass of water, and now I'm thirsty, and I'm... Yes, yes. Okay. 923. And this sounds like flight number 737. This is for the cookbook. Yay! I love your costume.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Let me check mine.
It's only 10 minutes.
Yeah, this was as far as I had gone.
Yeah, it's terrible.
All right, so yeah, like I thought, everyone's